lady named Samira looks quite uninterested in participating in a group therapy session led by a man named Ruben. Because she's terminally ill, Samira is at a hospice outside of New York, along with some elderly citizens. During the session, Ruben tells Samira to read the poem she just wrote.
Why don't you go ahead?
But she says she doesn't want to read it. However, as Ruben insists, Samira eventually agrees, but the poem turns out to be a weird piece about the bad behaviors of her group mates. Despite this, they still clap for her, and the session soon ends. On the way to her room, Ruben tells Samira that she shouldn't have written something bad about her group mates, but she says it's not something to worry about because her mates didn't seem to care. Following this, Ruben tells her about a show he's taking some of the patients to watch. He says he'd like her to come with him, but Samira tells him that she's not interested in going anywhere. After a while, though, Ruben convinces her to go because it will be good to see the city again for the first time in a while. Samira then says she'll only go if Ruben allows her to get pizza in the city.
I'll go if we get pizza.
Ruben agrees to let her get the pizza, so Samira heads to her room to change her clothes and use her meds. After she's done, she joins the hospice's bus and leaves for the city with her cat, Frodo. When they get there, Samira sees that they actually came for a marionette show, and she looks quite disappointed. She also complains to Ruben about this, but he says he's sure she'll enjoy the show. After taking her seat, a boy named Osahar keeps looking back at Frodo even though he's sitting in front of Samira. His dad, Henri, tries to get him to leave the cat, but Samira says she doesn't have a problem with him playing with Frodo. After a while, the show starts, but as she doesn't seem to be enjoying herself, Samira eventually leaves. She then heads to a nearby store to buy a candy bar.
Just this?
As she leaves, she sees Ruben talking on the phone with someone who wants him to head back to the hospice with the patients. After the call ends, Ruben tells Samira that they need to leave because he just got a call about something strange happening in the city. However, Samira says she needs to get pizza first. Ruben says she can get it later, but she keeps insisting that she wants the pizza. After Ruben refuses to oblige, Samira feels betrayed, so she enters the bus to sit down quietly. While she's inside, she suddenly notices that some of the patients are heading to the back of the bus to see what's happening. She's initially confused by this, but as she also checks what's happening, she sees some meteor-like objects falling from the sky. As everyone seems to be wondering what's about to happen, a meteor falls near the bus and causes an explosion that blows off the windows and destroys the top part of the bus. After a while, Samira barely manages to walk out of the bus with dust all over her body. As she then walks around, she sees a number of strange creatures attacking several individuals who are walking nearby, especially as they're screaming to find their loved ones. Samira quickly finds somewhere to hide, but as an ambulance's siren starts sounding nearby, one of the strange creatures attacks it and causes another explosion. Samira then ends up hitting the glass door of a nearby supermarket before passing out. When she wakes up, Henri quickly covers her mouth to stop her from making any sound because it will alert the weird creatures who have invaded the city. After he then removes his hand, he signals her to remain silent because the monsters are sensitive to sound. Following this, Henri takes Samira to meet the other survivors who are hiding in the theater. While she looks around, Samira sees Ruben and immediately hugs him. He then gives her Frodo, and Samira looks happy to be reunited with her pet. Shortly after, military helicopters start flying around the city to inform survivors to remain silent and stay hidden until help comes their way. Just then, Frodo leaves Samira and runs out of the room. But she and Ruben quickly follow him. However, they eventually have to stop when they see a monster walking near the entrance. Unfortunately, a coin drops on the floor, so the monster enters the theater. But Samira quickly saves Frodo and hides near a pillar in the building. Despite this, the monster still heads toward Ruben. But before it can attack him, a military helicopter flies near the theater to continue the announcement for survivors to stay hidden. This distracts the monster, so it heads back out and destroys the helicopter. Samira and Ruben are relieved by this, so they head back to join the others. Shortly after, Samira gently cleans her face with water, but as she returns to the main theater hall, she hears a loud noise coming from outside. As she and some other survivors head to the top of the building, they see that a few fighter jets are already destroying the city's bridges to ensure that the monsters don't leave the city. Just then, one of the survivors sounds quite nervous and starts saying they're all going to die. Before this alerts the monsters to find them, Henry quickly runs to cover the man's mouth. However, as he still tries to shout, Henry hits his head against a wall and the man instantly dies. When Samira and Ruben return inside, she writes a note to him saying she wants to leave for Harlem so she can get pizza. Ruben doesn't think it's a good idea, but Samira signals that she really wants it. Before they can leave, though, the power in the building goes out and the backup generator comes on. Because it's making a really loud sound, Samira and Ruben immediately run to find the generator. When they do, Ruben tells Samira to stay back while he tries to turn it off. Luckily, he's able to turn it off. But one of the monsters arrives nearby. Just as Ruben's shirt then gets ripped as he steps away from the machine, the monster hears this and enters to kill him, leaving Samira devastated, though she remains silent. Shortly after, Samira gets tired of sitting indoors, so she heads outside with Frodo and finds a supermarket where she picks some food for herself and the cat. After they leave the supermarket, Samira stops near a fountain to feed Frodo and also eat her own can of food. While she's then looking around, she sees two kids standing inside the fountain, so she goes to meet them. Since the kids look hungry, she gives them a candy bar and signals them not to be worried. Just then, some military helicopters fly around again, and Samira hears an announcement for everyone to find their way to a river down south to join one of the available evacuation boats. Following this, Samira tells the kids to come with her, but as the monsters start flying around again, she eventually gets them to hide with her. Luckily, they're not seen by the monsters, and after the noise stops, Samira heads out to see that there are other people on the streets now headed south. She then tells the kids to follow the crowd while she heads backwards to Harlem, still hoping to find at least one slice of pizza. During her walk back, the crowd's movement intensifies, and as their footsteps are now loud, it alerts the monsters and allows them to go on a killing spree. This also causes a stampede, and Samira falls down and loses Frodo in the process. After a while, though, she eventually stands up and finds a place to hide. Meanwhile, a man named Eric swims out of a flooded subway, only to see Frodo staring at him. As the cat then walks away, Eric follows him until Frodo finds where Samira is hiding. Even though she looks happy to see Frodo again, she can't seem to understand why Eric is looking at her, so she tells him to keep moving. However, Eric refuses to leave, and even when Samira walks away from her hiding spot, he still follows her. Shortly after, rain starts falling in the city, so Samira hides under a shed with Eric. She then talks under the sound of the rain and tells Eric to head south to join the boats. Despite this, Eric looks quite scared, and he tells her that he doesn't want to die, so she agrees to let him follow her. After a while, she takes him to her apartment, and as they get in, Eric notices that Samira is looking for something. He immediately asks her about this, and she says she's looking for her meds because all the muscles in her body are burning up. She doesn't eventually find her meds, so she sits down to relax. She then tells Eric to head for the evacuation site, but he still seems quite scared of going alone. As he asks why she doesn't want to head south, she says she wants to get pizza at a place called Patsy's in Harlem. Eric is shocked to hear this, but Samira says she thinks there'll be at least one slice she can take from the shop. Eric then says he'll come with her, but she tells him that she'll go alone. She also asks if he has anywhere he can go, but he says he's from England and that he only came to New York for law school. Shortly after, Eric finds a poetry book written by Samira.
Do you have family here?
So he asks if she's a poet. She says she's no longer one, but Eric still asks about the picture of the man playing a piano on the book. Samira then says that the man is her dad and that he used to play the piano well. Following this, Eric begs her again to let him follow her to Harlem, but she only gives him a poem she wrote, revealing that she's terminally ill with the possibility of dying anytime soon. After he's done reading it, Samira screams under the sound of the thunder, and Eric also joins her because the monsters won't be able to hear them. The next morning, Samira leaves the apartment alone while Eric is sleeping. However, before she walks too far, she notices that he's already following her again. Even though she initially wants to complain, she eventually decides against it. As she's then about to continue walking, she mistakenly hits a book off a stand, and this immediately alerts the monsters. Following this, Samira and Eric run toward a nearby building, but as they're about to open the door, they realize that it's stuck. Eric eventually forces the door open, but as it makes another sound, the monsters troop into the building. Luckily, Samira and Eric are able to avoid getting caught, and as they find their way out, they create a distraction for the monsters to get off their backs. They then head into the subway station, but as they're trying to find another exit, they see a monster inside. Following this, they maintain their silence and eventually find the subway tunnel, which is now flooded. Since there's no other way out, Samira tells Eric that they'll have to swim their way out. They then enter the water and start swimming, but another monster appears near them again. At this point, Eric seems quite scared and uncomfortable, so he's unable to move any further. Samira then goes closer to encourage him and also make sure he doesn't scream or speak loudly. He immediately feels better, but as they start moving, the monster runs toward them. Samira and Eric swim faster, and as they get deeper into the water, the monster falls in and tries to catch them. Luckily though, the monster doesn't seem to do well inside the water, so it drowns. Samira and Eric then find an exit that leads to a church where some other survivors are hiding. After a while, Samira feels really weak because she hasn't used her meds in a long time. Eric notices that she's really in pain, so he asks her what kind of meds she uses so he can head out to get them for her. Following this, Samira tells him what to get, so he heads out alone and finds a pharmacy. While he's looking for what Samira wants, Frodo enters the pharmacy and startles him. Eric looks relieved to see that it's just Frodo, and after he gets the meds, they leave together. On the way back, Frodo runs into a construction site. So Eric has no choice but to follow him because he needs to return to the church with the cat. As he then climbs some of the debris in the area, Eric sees a monster nearby. Unfortunately, Frodo has already climbed a metal platform, so Eric realizes that he'll also have to climb it to save the cat. As he climbs the platform, the monster at the construction site alerts his colleagues to join him in eating a weird wool-like egg. While they do this, Eric silently continues to climb up so he can reach Frodo. Just before he gets closer, a monster comes near him, but he immediately stays still. Even though the monster keeps staring at him, it eventually moves away when Eric doesn't make a sound. Following this, Eric saves Frodo and returns to the church. He then gives Samira her meds to make her feel better. While she's recovering, Eric sees a note she wrote about her dad playing the piano, so he asks her about it. She then tells Eric that her dad used to play the piano at a jazz club in Harlem near Patsy's, and that after his shows, he always took her to get pizza. Eric asks what happened to him, and Samira says he died just like she's about to. Since Eric now realizes that Samira only wants to eat a slice of pizza to help her remember the old times with her dad, he tells her that he won't let her die before they get the pizza. The next day, they leave the church together, but unfortunately, they discover that Patsy's has been burnt down. Samira looks disappointed by this, and as she sits down on the road to cry, Eric consoles her and asks where her dad used to play. Samira then takes him to a nearby jazz club, where she gets to charge her music player. While she's inside, Eric heads out and finds another pizza joint. Even though it's not what Samira wants, Eric still finds a pack of pizza and writes Patsy's on it. He then gives it to Samira, who appreciates his effort in making her happy. As they eat the pizza together, Eric comes up with an idea and decides to cheer Samira up by doing some magic tricks while pretending to be in front of an audience. Samira enjoys this, and she also looks quite happy with everything Eric is doing for her. The next day, as they then stand outside the club, they see one of the evacuation boats leaving. Samira then takes off her sweater and gives it to Eric while she keeps wearing his jacket. As they then head down together to find a way to get to the boat, they see that the monsters are now standing near the river, even though they can't enter it to attack the passengers on the boat. Since Samira doesn't want Eric to miss the boat, she tells him not to be scared, after which she hands over Frodo to him and tells him to run. Following this, she runs in the opposite direction and hits several cars on the road to trigger their alarms. As the monsters then follow the sound, Henri appears to be on the evacuation boat, so he tells the captain to wait because there are still survivors on the road. Since the monsters are now heading elsewhere, Eric runs toward the river with Frodo. Unfortunately, the monsters eventually spot him, so he runs faster to ensure they don't catch him. Luckily, he ends up jumping into the river before they can get to him, and Samira looks relieved to see that he made it through alive. Following this, Eric joins the boat with Frodo and immediately hugs Henri, while also looking relieved to have survived the monster invasion. Shortly after, Samira heads back to the jazz club and finds an old picture of herself and her dad inside the club. Elsewhere, Eric finds a note from Samira inside the sweater she gave him. In the note, she tells him to take care of Frodo and avoid doing things that he doesn't like. She also thanks him for everything he did for her, one of which was bringing her back to Harlem. Meanwhile, Samira walks out on the road looking quite calm with her headphones inside a music player. After a while, though, she removes the headphones, and as the music plays out loud, the monsters start appearing behind her.